This sermon is brought to you by Bloomfield Presbyterian Church, Belfast. To know Jesus and share his love.
Our first reading is from John's first letter of John, chapter 4. And we're reading from verse 7 to verse 12. John chapter 4, from verse 7 to verse 12. And we remind ourselves that this is God speaking to us. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Everyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world, that we might live through him. This is love. Not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God. But if we love each other, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. And we thank God for his word that we have read together. Boys, our second reading is from Paul's first letter to the church at Corinth, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And we're going to read the whole chapter. You'll find it on page 1153, 1153 in the Pew Bibles. And as I'm reading, could I ask you to keep a wee eye out for a couple of verses that don't seem to quite fit in? You read them, you think, well, what's that doing there? Okay? So God speaks to us as we read. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It's not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For now we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is, and we all say it together, love. Love. For some of you, that will immediately bring one name into mind. Anybody tell me? More than I expected, I have to say. Yes. Love. Who sang "What's Love Got to Do with It"? Tina Turner. That's right. Have you come across the record recently? Maybe you can. I've forgotten who sang it. Is it, I love you so much that I hate you? That ring any bells? No, I just found it and I thought, well, that's just really weird. What is this love thing? Well, oh, sorry, I should have said to the boys and girls, you've got plenty of colouring in sheets, but you've also got this sheet as well, yes? I hope so. And on this sheet, you can see the letters down this side. So when a slide comes up, you'll find that these letters correspond to some of the words in the bottom left-hand corner, okay? And if you can jot down those words, you will be absolutely fantastic. And you can show them to adults, and it'll help them as well, okay? I should say that the sections are in order, but within each section, these aren't in order, okay? It seemed like a good idea at the time. So what's verse 11 doing there? What is it all about? He talks about love, 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 down to verse 10. And then, when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. What on earth is that about? What has that got to do with love? I actually think that's a key verse for the whole chapter. Because Paul is distinguishing here between two types of love. Now, what are these two types of love? Well, if you look at the screen, I think you can see two types of love, two ways in which we use the word love. On the left, you can see, I just love roses. They're so beautiful and the scent's gorgeous. Or, I love ice cream. Sorry, I was waiting for an amen there. Yes. I love ice cream. Or, I love dancing. And you can add a whole host of other things. I love chips. And what's the missing one that everybody loves is? Chocolate. It has to be chocolate, doesn't it? Okay, and we use the word love like that. Look on the right-hand side. And again, here are three ways in which we can use the word love. On the very right, now this is just a random husband and wife. I love my wife. I love my husband. Or at the bottom, I love my children, even when they're as miserable looking as those four. Seemingly up until the 20th century, you weren't allowed to smile if you're having your portrait painted or your picture taken. And then, of course, just above that, I love my brothers and sisters in Christ in this fellowship. Now, what I'm going to do in the next hour or so is to is to try and take away one understanding of love and replace it with another one. And to make the applications that I'm going to make, I'm going to hover between love within a family, in particular husband and wife, and love within a fellowship, because that's what Paul is writing to. He's writing to the fellowship in Corinth. Also, again, by way of confession perhaps, there is just so much. There is a year's series of sermons in this chapter, and I'm going to flit across it. Having said that, many of the theological concepts aren't difficult at all, but it's the application of those concepts that can be really difficult. So that's where I'm going to just throw out a lot of ideas into your mind and see if any are appropriate and take root. So the difference then between the two types of love. Let me put another picture up. Paul talks about moving from childish love to adult love. Now, think about that baby, poor wee soul. I think about the baby, 3 months old, wakens up at 3 o'clock in the morning, is hungry, is lonely, maybe has a sore tummy. And that child automatically says, oh goodness, it's still dark, I'll go back to sleep, I don't want to waken my parents. Now, Hands up if your son or daughter ever did that. No, my hands are down. They don't. Because that child loves being fed. That child loves being cuddled by its parents. That child loves having its needs met. And that's an entirely reasonable thing, entirely right for a child, entirely appropriate. But as that child grows up, that child needs to learn, actually, I'm not the center of the world. There are other people in this world. There are other people who have needs. There are other people who need to be taken care of. There are other people who sit alongside me, and I have to fit in appropriately. And so that love that is centered on, I love ice cream, having my needs met, fine. But it needs to grow into that love that says, I love you. And when I say I love you, I am committed to you. I've conducted quite a number of weddings over the years, one just recently and another one coming in August, which is that painful wedding that some of us conduct when it's your own daughter who's now saying, you're no longer the number one man in my life. Husband and wife are making vows to each other in which they're saying, I love you. And you can expand that little phrase to say, I love you, and so I am committing myself to you. Sorry, I moved on too quickly there. I love you, and I'm committing myself to you. My love means I will do all in my power to enable you to flourish. When I say I love you, I'm saying I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make life as good as I possibly can for you, because that's what love is. How do I know that's what love is? Because of 1 John. Because when we look at what God did God say, oh, that'll be fun to do that? Or, I would really enjoy doing this, that, or the other. And he certainly didn't say, Calvary, I would really enjoy that. It's almost blasphemous to say that, isn't it? But God looked down at us and said, I love these people. I'm going to do all that I possibly can to bring them out of the problem that they've got themselves into, to restore joy to them, to give them life not only in this world, but life that will never end in complete joy. That's love. And that's the love that Paul is talking about here. And he approaches this understanding of love in a number of different ways. The first thing he does is that he says love that's more reminiscent of childish love than adult love can do good things, but with hidden selfishness. Okay? Good things with hidden selfishness. Let's take a look at a couple of the examples that he gives. He says we can say good things, but they can be hidden. The selfishness can be hidden. If I speak in the tongue of men or angels, but do not have love. What do you think he's saying to her in that picture? Imagine if he's saying, yes, of course I love you. It would sound a bit hollow, wouldn't it? So as we speak, let's make sure our words are true reflections of a true love and not just something selfish that's hidden behind saying the right words. Or, of course, teaching the right things. Again, this is, I'll not refer terribly often to exactly the words that I'm referring to, but have a wee look and you can see it easily for yourselves. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, well, I know a lot of stuff, and I can teach a lot of stuff. That's an older picture of a divine, a theologian. And theologians, I have to confess, as a card-carrying theologian, of course, have done some awful things. Theologians have known all the right words, but have legitimized racism, have legitimized the oppression of women, have legitimized some of the divisions within our province and many other things throughout the world. They've known all the right things, but without love. And just expand that to whatever type of teaching you do. If you're a teacher, or if you're teaching in the church here, or if you're teaching in a school, whatever type of teaching you're doing, let's make sure that we're teaching heart-right things. Having great faith. Faith that can move mountains. Well, again, I think we have to say that we can do great Christian things. We can do great faith-based things. And yet underneath it lurks something evil. And sometimes something dreadfully evil. Now, it may be small-scale evil, like if I do this great thing for Jesus, then people will think I'm wonderful. And that's my pride. And that's a small-scale evil. Folks, you don't need me to tell you what has happened not only in our own province, but in other places, where people in Christian leadership have done significantly bad things. But the curious thing is that some of them have done significantly good things as well. Jean Vanier, you familiar with that name? Who started the L'Arche communities. Great communities. He did really bad things as well. So, love that's just all about me. What about generosity? What about that money that I put in the plate? Or the other things that I give, as Paul says, to the poor? Surely that's just a good thing. Well, yes, it is a good thing. Of course it's a good thing. Elon Musk, you've heard the name. Have a look at Elon Musk's charitable giving. I'll not tell you any more about it, but just have a look at it and have a look at what's going on inside it and underneath it. And I think you've got a perfect illustration of what's happening here. Or if I just can I give you a great way to do this? You know the storehouse things that we have here? Bring something to storehouse. Now what you do is this. You buy a little thing every week. It's fish this month, or tinned fish. Buy a couple of tinned fish things each week. Store them up at home. And then on any given Sunday, bring in 25 all at once. And make sure everybody sees you putting them in the cart. I've done it for years. It works. There can be a way of being generous that is actually just selfish. Surely martyrdom, surely giving up my life for Christ is the ultimate sacrifice that says only good things about who Jesus is. Well, yeah, that's not from Christianity, of course, that's from the Muslim tradition, the violent end of the Muslim tradition. The suicide bomber who gives up his life as an expression of faith. Do we really, really want to say that that's an expression of love for the people who are killed? Surely not. So, some big ways, some small ways, childish love, well. What about grown-up love? First part of verse 4, and we'll come on to verse 7. Grown-up love moves from childish love by saying, no, it's not all about me, it's all about you, my brothers and sisters. It's all about you, my wife, my daughter, my father, my neighbours. It's all about you whom I love. So what has Paul got to say about that? Some interesting things. Love is patient and kind. I put those two together because they're two aspects of the same thing. Patience is not doing something. Kindness is doing something. Patience is not doing something that you really want to do, but you have to wait. Kindness is doing something that you may not really want to do, but you know it's the right thing, it's a good thing to do for your friend, for your wife, husband, parent, child, brother or sister in Christ. Folks, let me say it again. It's not complicated, is it? Love is truthful. I loved that image that I found. You can tell the truth, but there are lies tucked away in it. Love doesn't tell lies. Again, just one example. Perhaps it's that your words, again, say all the right things. Your words are all true, but lifestyle can be showing that the truth in your words doesn't actually go very deeply. Just a suggestion. Love is protective. Again, I just loved that picture. And that's what was behind the story with the monkey and the elephant. Love is protective. Of course, historically, marriage was always seen as protective because the man is physically stronger. Woman can come under physical threats, therefore the man protects her physically. And that's fine. Or a man protects a woman because the man is the breadwinner and the woman is shielded under that protection. And that's fine. But surely it's much more than that. Marriage is much more than that, of course it is. But love is much more than that. And that little phrase, love protects me from what I want. Is that a fantastic idea? If I love someone, I'll protect them from feeling inferior. If I love someone, I'll protect them from loneliness. If I love someone, I'll protect them from overwork or from folly or from being emotionally overstrained. Yep. Love is trustful. Love trusts. When I don't understand what you're doing, my love trusts you. My love will not immediately jump in and say, oh, that's stupid, that's wrong, because I see it differently. My love will be leaping back, patient. My love will trust that you may actually, now, I find this hard to say, of course, you may actually know more than I do about this, whatever it is. The humility that we all of us need to be there in the first response. Love trusts. I trust you because in this you know better than I do. And love also goes on to say, I trust you, but if things go wrong, I'm still with you. I'm still walking with you. I'm still yours. And I am hopeful that if things go wrong, things can get better. That's an illustration from Pilgrim's Progress. Have we read at it when Christian meets a man who's simply called hopeful. Trust says, I'm walking with you now. Hope says, if things go wrong, we'll walk through it together because we can, because we love each other. Whether that's within a marriage or whether that's within a fellowship here. Because as we all know, there can be all sorts of tensions. And not too far from that is love is persevering. Love keeps on loving. Love keeps on loving when it's difficult. Love says we can get through this. Love says we can get through this and adds another word on to the end of that. We can get through this eventually. As a fellowship. As families. Love is also persevering in a way that becomes more relevant every year older that I get. It used to be that there wasn't much need to talk about it, but there is today. And that is the care of older relatives. Love is persevering when she is such a nuisance. Or my dad, love perseveres. And then Paul jumps back to love is not. Love is not envious. Envy, that green-eyed monster, looks passionately at something. And it looks passionately at something that you've got and says, I want that. And again, it doesn't matter what that is. If it's a child who looks passionately at the toy that the other child has and says, I want that, that's one thing. If it's an adult, well, let's go to the other end of the scale, who looks at that woman that my friend is married to and says, I want that. Something deeply wrong there. Or everything in between. Love is not envious. Love rejoices in what makes my loved one happy, whether I have it or not. And love is not boastful. Love does not say, look at me, look at me, look at me. Simple. Love does things quietly. Love does things well. Love does things without telling anybody about it, and is at peace. Because love is not proud. Love knows what I've already said. It's not all about me. And love says no to those subtle little bits of pride. Well, for example, I've been struggling with my quiet time recently. I've been struggling to keep it down to an hour. It's been really difficult. Yeah, you see it? You see it? At one level, it's sharing a difficulty. At the other level, of course, it's boasting. And I don't have any trouble keeping it down to an hour. If only. Love is not insulting. Isn't it one of the strange things about Northern Ireland? Isn't it? And I think it's in other places as well. That we've got this thing that the closer you are to somebody, the better a friend you are, the more you insult them. It's just something we do. It's weird, and people from outside just find it really weird. And when you think about it, it is a part of our culture that we do need to be cautious about. We do need to be cautious about our humour. We do need to be cautious about the compliment that isn't really a compliment. Oh, that's not bad. Really, you should be saying more. Or the deliberate thoughtlessness that insults. Or let me come back to it, AIDR. When someone's asked you to do something, you say, oh, I'll do it, but you sort of half do it. In a way that shows respect for that person is actually quite limited, and that's insulting. And love is not selfish. Don't you love that? Isn't that a great wee picture? Love is not selfish. I saw the other side of that the other day in Bangor. It was a man and woman walking together, and the man was carrying a baby in his arms. And it was raining. He was carrying the baby in his arms, and his wife was walking alongside him, holding the umbrella over the husband and the baby. Wasn't that just lovely? Love is not selfish. Love is not insincere in doing things. Because love knows that sometimes life is a zero-sum game. Because love knows that sometimes if I have, then you don't have. And if I'm selfish, then it causes you to suffer. And in the context of a relationship, whether it be here, in a marriage, a family, or wherever, that selfishness betrays a certain lovelessness. Love is not easily angered. Now, there are times when it's appropriate to get angry. Of course there are. And we could swiftly move into that. But love is not easily angered. Especially by those really, really annoying things, like not putting your toothbrush back into the toothbrush holder, not putting the top back on the toothpaste. Really annoying. Love is not easily angered. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Can I tell you a story? When I was in lower sixth, towards the end of the year, a young fellow came into our maths class and said, the headmaster wants to see McLean. And so Alistair went out, and we all knew what it was. He was being told that he's head boy for next year. That's fine. And he was just the right guy. Everybody knew he was a shoe-in. And then the wee lad came back and said, headmaster wants to see Gibson. And I thought, what's that all about? So I went down, and it was to tell me that I was deputy head boy. And of course I was thrilled with that. Break time came, everybody was told. One of my friends came to me and said, Gibson, that's typical of you. Always second best. Dear, yes. That was 53 years ago. Love keeps no record of wrongs. That's a trivial example, isn't it? And I can look back on that and smile and laugh because a little transition took place a while ago. Instead of feeling hurt by that, I learned to say, I wonder what was going on in his mind. I wonder what little bit of insecurity was in there. I wonder what little bit of envy, perhaps. I wonder what was going on in there. So when you find that someone has done something wrong, not keeping a record means, yes, trying to not think about it, but also trying to get behind it and say, what's going on? And maybe even to take that next step and say, well, what can I do to help put things right? Sorry, I've just realized what time it is. My apologies. Love does not delight with evil. Again, do I really need to say any more? Much of what we see on television is the portrayal of evil. I've mentioned from the pulpit before a program that I haven't watched. I couldn't even bring myself to sit through the little trailer. It's called Lucifer. The idea being the devil comes to, I can't remember whether it's New York or San Francisco or where, and helps the police solve crimes. Really? Really? Delighting in evil? So grown-up love that Paul commends to us as the way in which we relate to each other with all of the people who come within the reach of our love, in this fellowship, in our families, in our marriages, in our neighborhoods, in our schools and places of work. Grown-up love means saying, I am absolutely committed to seeing you flourishing. Grown-up love says, we are absolutely committed to seeing each other flourishing. That's what love is. That's what we commit ourselves to in this fellowship. That's what couples who are getting married commit themselves to, hopefully. Let's pause for a few minutes and think of some of the consequences of this.
Thank you for listening to Bloomfield Presbyterian Church Sermon Audio. We're a congregation in East Belfast. For more information, visit bloomfieldpresbyterian.org.